from future expansion and is located at the terminus of a dead-end local residential street. Many other churches that are located internal to internal to residential neighborhoods are located within areas of established grid patterns, so the traffic can disperse evenly throughout the neighborhood. Should this church's congregation grow, it must accommodate that growth accordingly to effectively mitigate the potential traffic impacts it may pose to that Eastern Heights neighborhood, since it's at the northern end of the neighborhood there. Planning Commission staff would recommend that the church, its participants, and the residents of the surrounding area continue to work together, planning to ensure that any potential impacts due to future growth are mitigated appropriately. But overall, Planning Commission staff did find the request consistent and with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. Mary Samaniego, Land Development Coordination. Go to the Elmo and Sherry photographs. Here is the zoning atlas of the subject property. Oops. As you can see, the subject property of these two parcels in a triangular shape, and then one parcel across Palifox to the south. The properties on the west side of CSX are zoned RS 50, as well as the surrounding properties in this general vicinity. Here's an aerial photograph of the subject properties. They are currently vacant for their approved use. This is a shot of the main subject property with an existing modular building sitting on it. This is the triangular piece of the subject property. Currently has an existing stand of trees. Here's another shot of the subject property looking from 44th Street and
Cut the volume up, honey.
Intersection. This is a shot of the subject property from 44th Street. Again, part of this application is an adjoining property to the south of Palifox that would be used for parking. This is that subject property with a very large tree. I stepped back and took a larger picture. You can see there's a sizable tree on the property with a large canopy.
You went up there?
This is an adjoining property across the street on 44th, going south on 44th, existing single-family detached dwellings. Across the street, coming back up towards Palifox. This is directly across the street from where the main place of religious assembly use will happen. And then directly to its west is where the additional parking will be. This is around the corner, a vacant piece of property going down Eastern Avenue and going down Eastern. And then this is a shot from the subject property looking at the CSX tracks and the houses beyond.
He doesn't look at it.
For the record, this is a rezoning request to rezone the property from RS50 to planned development. The applicant has proposed two different phases, which are illustrated in your site plan. The first sheet of your site plan is phase 1, and then at some future time, they would like the option of doing phase 2, which is sheet 2 of your site plan. There are several waivers associated with both of the site plans. A lot of them carry over because they apply to both. There's a waiver to section 27-132A to reduce the required side yard setbacks from 40 feet to 7 feet on the west, and again that's up against the CSX property. 27-132B to reduce the required minimum lot size from 20,000 square feet for a place of religious assembly to 14,563 square feet. Section 27-132C to allow access under a local street instead of the required arterial and collector streets. However, this property only fronts on local streets. Section 27-283-7 to reduce the required parking from 15 spaces to 13. And for phase 2, it would be from 17 to 13. 27-283-12 to allow a reduction in the drive aisle width from 24 feet to 20 feet. And again, that's for that southern parking area. There's an attempt as I illustrated, there's a large tree on the property. They're trying to kind of snake the driveway around that tree's buffer area to provide parking. So therefore, to make the driveway work, they had to reduce the width. Continuing with waivers, 27-283-12 to allow grass parking and grass drive aisles for the parking lots. Again, upon review of the tree, which is in really good shape and is quite large, staff felt that it would be reasonable to have that parking, the drive aisle and the parking spaces all grass as an effort to protect that tree as opposed to being paving. And so that requires a waiver. And lastly, 27-284 to reduce the required use-to-use buffer from 10 feet landscape buffer along the west, east, and south boundary of the southern parcel to 7 feet. Again, for the southern parcel, an attempt to get in a drive aisle width and some parking on there. The use-to-use buffers each have to be reduced by 3 feet. There are some revisions that are being requested between first and second reading. Basically, it's just a compliance statement for stormwater and a couple notes for natural resources for things to be cleaned up. Transportation did find it inconsistent because of the drive aisle width reduction from 24 down to 20. But other than that, there were no other comments. So the development review and compliance staff reviewed the application and found it inconsistent. Again, if you basically because of the transportation law width waiver. In the event that you approve the waivers, the report outlines changes to be made between first and second reading that I asked you make part of your motion. That concludes my presentations, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions by council members?
No.
Petitioner, item number 13, REZ 14-36, please come forward.
My name is Pastor Johnson, and I reside at 2119 East Nedra Road, Tampa, Florida, 33604. I have here some, right here, petition from some of the neighbors in the neighborhood in Eastern Heights. They signed.
We'll get those in a minute. There you go. Petition. Yes, ma'am. I assume they're all in favor.
Yes. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, let me see what happens here. Any questions by council members? Anyone in the audience care to speak on item number 13, file number REZ 14-36, please come forward.
Yes, I'm Brenda Mobley, and I reside at 4236 East Cayuga Street, which is the street to the south of the property. When I first saw a sign saying that there was going to be a church put on that area, I thought, okay, that could probably help the neighborhood. Maybe get the children and some of the drugs help with that. But then when a little while later, they put this construction trailer on the lot, and it's very unsightly. So I asked Officer Jerry Williams of Code Enforcement, was it legal for them to put a construction trailer on the site, and he said it was put there illegally and that they would be required to move it. However, that didn't happen, and next thing I know, we're getting this zoning asking to convert this trailer into a church. I have a problem with that. It's unsightly as it is, and I don't know if it's even legal to try to convert that into a church. The second part is the small lot that they want to park cars on that's across from that area is almost directly in back of my home. And it's just to have a small parking lot on a residential block,
Yeah, it is, brother.
block, to me, that is just not, should not happen. I noticed that she wants to reduce everything to make this a little small place, but I don't think that it is will fit into the neighborhood as is presented at this time. So I would like for them I would like for you all not to give her this change in zoning for those reasons. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience care to speak on this item? Please come forward.
My name is Samuel Mobley, President of Eastern Heights Neighborhood Association of Pine Watch. I live at 4234 East Cayuga Street. Now, I'm working to the religious facility there. I have no problem with that. I'm a religious man myself. But when I see, actually, I'm a general contractor by trade. And I look at this plan that she presented to me, and it's a modular. But what really bothers me is that we contacted code concerning this, Jerry Williams, and he said it was part illegal, and they were going to have this removed. That didn't happen. So we called him a couple of times, we never got a response. Now, later we got this in the mail. We fabricate this on a modular. You know, it doesn't fit the neighborhood. It really doesn't. And the little area that you have there, you got Eastern Avenue running to Palifox, which Palifox is a little short street. Then you have 44th Street running to the railroad. You got 1, 2, 3 houses, residential house there. And right across from there, where she want to put modular, there's a residential house there. Now she want to put the parking area right next to the residential house, which that means you got to come from across the street to park. You're not parking on where she want to put the church at, but you got to cross the street. And there is residential have to come into the neighborhood, and it's just not feasible to do that. To change our zoning to a commercial zoning when it's not zoned for that. And I just don't think this would help the neighborhood at all. We have several churches in our neighborhood already, and only one church helps our neighborhood. So my thing is, what's the purpose of putting it there? What's your reason for putting it there? And what you're going to do to help the neighborhood? And are you familiar with the neighborhood? That's my question. Just to come and put something there, not being familiar with the neighborhood, not telling us what you're going to do to help the neighborhood. I just can't see it, and I'm sorry, and I hope you all understand.
We understand. Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience? But just a second. You're going to have 5 minutes. Oh. Any questions by council members? Mr. Suarez.
Yes. Aaron, you know, a question was brought up about the modular building. Obviously, the way that the presentation was given to us about a phase 1 and a phase 2, we don't usually see those during our zoning discussions. You know, typically it's, here's the plan, this is what we're going to do as soon as we get permission to do it. I know that you don't know anything about code, but you know, we don't usually see these type of projects where somebody says, I'm going to have a modular building here for a certain amount of time prior to that. Now, I may want to ask our attorney or someone else. I see somebody in the back that looks like our attorney that might want to come up here and talk to us, because I'm curious about if we're zoning this in order to get something that was non-conforming into conforming versus something else. That's kind of my question. I'm not expecting you to answer it unless you have the answer.
I believe I do have the answer.
Oh, then that's why we want you up there. Go ahead and say it.
Modular buildings are allowed to be used in this type of scenario. I believe you've had over the last 2 years several places of religious assembly uses which are using modular buildings, including one earlier tonight for the manifest